That was a faux pas. I accidentally clicked go live.
Scampi Melon. He's always laughing, he's always trying. He's not Scampi.
Something Scampi.
Yo, welcome back, YouTube. This is the first of many Premier League videos coming your way this season. Today we are discussing my predictions for the Premier League and a couple of words afterwards as well. Disclaimer before we jump right into it, and this is recorded on the 10th of August before the transfer window shut. Things may have changed. My opinion may change in the future, but this is pretty much what we're going to be comparing against at the end of the year. Overall, this is probably the most open league for many years. Some would say there's two clear favorites. I'd say there's probably four that have a reasonably good chance of winning it. Four can win, plenty can get relegated. There's a lot of contenders for that this year. But yeah, this is how I see the Prem panning out after the 380 matches have been played. Right, so let's start from the bottom and work our way up. The three teams I see going down this year are Burnley, Watford, and Norwich. For Watford and Norwich, this is mostly based on the signings so far, so this could change. But right now, none of them have any difference makers. They're not really linked to any big difference makers that I see them realistically signing. Watford have signed a couple of players with prime experience in Danny Rose and Josh King. I don't really see that being enough to get them out of the relegation zone. Norwich got Josh Sargent of note from the Bundesliga. He looks a good player from what I've seen. I haven't seen too much of him, and he could add goals to them, and he could set the Premier League on light, but I haven't seen it enough from players that come from other European leagues doing super well coming into the Prem, and I see him taking a year or two to settle in. He's still a youngster as well, so a lot of pressure on him to get the goals for Norwich. But yeah, neither club really have the quality to survive the drop at the moment, in my opinion. Although I really do want Watford to stay up from my boys Cleverly and Ben Foster as well, who has one of the best YouTube channels going at the moment. It's absolutely quality. And then we've got Burnley, who previously have kept finding a way to survive the drop, but I just think this is the year that they're gonna get relegated. I don't see them having any signings that'll make a huge impact. I think year on year they've really declined since they first came in. I think teams have really sussed them out a lot more. They're still difficult to beat, but you know, their home ground isn't the fortress that it once was whenever they first came to the Prem. And I think this is the year where they'll probably go down. So yeah, that's my big belief. Next we have the relegation contenders from 13th to 17th. In 17th we've got the Saints, who, to be honest, they're borderline relegation for me. I really did to and fro between them and Burnley. Losing Ings is the big game changer for me there. I think he was a huge part of whenever they were doing so well. He got a lot of goals for them, and I think that'll be hard to replace. I just don't think they're going to bring in somebody who has that quality, that experience in the Premier League, and that leadership up front the same way he brought to them. Their end of season form last year scares me on behalf of them. I just see that kind of being what leads into this season. Then next we have Brighton at 16th. They create a lot of chances. They really do, but they lack goals. They get a lot of expected goals, but they actually lack finishing the chances that they create. They need that striker that is going to put every chance away, or at least a lot more than they've got in the past. I don't think they've got that replacement. I don't see them signing not replacement, but I don't see them signing a quality striker before the window closes. I think that'll have a huge impact on them. If they get that striker, I think they could be top half of the table. Absolutely. Next we've got at 15th, Brentford. They have a similar system and setup to Leeds in terms of shape. They don't play the exact same style, but they're quite a difficult team to break down. And I think with the way they move forward, I think Tony especially will thrive in it against Premier League oppositions. I think he'll get a lot of goals. I think he could be a player to watch this season, and a good player for the fantasy Premier League for all you ones keen out there. I think he'd be a good man to have in your squad. Um, then next we have Wolves, who have lost their manager to Spurs, which I think is a big blow for them. I think they're going to have to adapt to the new manager, who hasn't really made that big of an impact on the squad just yet, but he has kept a lot of the big players, which is their saving grace, which is why I don't think they'll be in the drop this season. Interesting to see how the rest of this transfer window pans out for them. If this makes some big signings, some big changes to the squad to suit himself, then you never know, they could easily rise up the table. Like, we've all seen what Wolves can do. It's just whether they can implement it to the high standard that we know they can do. Then next we have Palace in 13th. Yeah, there's the same old squad as last season. I was to and fro between putting them lower, but I think they've got enough experience, and I think they've got enough quality in the squad to rise up the table. I genuinely think that from 13th to 17th are all going to be in and around that relegation zone. I don't think Palace at 13th will be comfortably there. I could see them only being, 6, 7, 8 points off the drop at the end of the season. If they lose Zaha, I could see them in relegation, absolutely. How this transfer window pans out will be key as to whether they're in the drop or not. Next, we're going to move on to 7th to 12th. In 12th place, we've got Newcastle, who I think have got something good going on right now. I think Steve Bruce is really building a strong squad that could last a long time. I think signing Joe Willock, it's like a brand new signing all over again. He was on loan last season. It looks to be a permanent signing that's going to go through very soon, which I think is just huge. He was the best player there by far. Saint Maximin, it sounds like he's really keen to make a push to try and get into that France squad, and I think he'll use Newcastle as that pathway to the French squad, and we've seen it happen before with Newcastle players, and I think it could happen again. If he has a big season, Newcastle could do very, very well. But I think they will stay in 12th this year. But I think next year, if they make a couple of big signings, it could really make a big push into the top half of the table. It could be exciting times, especially now that Mike Ashley has passed on the ownership to, I believe it's his son. Yeah, it could be a very interesting time for Newcastle, or it could go to shit. Like, let's be honest, you just never know with them. But I predict 12th place. Then we have Leeds in 11th place, which for me was a very tough one to call. If they replicate the form from last year, then this will definitely be their place. I think Phillips and Bamford are the key for Leeds again this year. Phillips especially, he had a fantastic Euros. I think he really showed the quality that he brings to a squad. And I think Bamford will keep continuing to nick goals for Leeds and nick wins for them. And I think they'll keep battering and breaking teams down. But I don't see them taking that next step up. I see them just being a mid-table team this year. I don't see them pushing for that top 6. Unless they make some big signings before the end of the window, which they very well could. But I don't see it. I don't see it right now. Next we have Arsenal. I'll be honest, I probably feels like I put them here because of their reputation, how well they've done in the past. They are rebuilding under Arteta, and Arteta is going to be under great pressure. But I believe players like Saka, maybe even Smith Rowe, could play a big part in Arsenal doing well this year. If their youngsters play to close to their potential, Arsenal could have a good season. But yeah, this is probably the one I'm the least confident in my picks. I think seeing Villa signing the players that they've signed, will come on to them later. Compared to Arsenal, we're chasing pretty much the same players and couldn't sign them, shows players' lack of faith in the manager, in the squad, and in what the club's doing, which is a scary thing to see for them as as a club. And if I was a fan, I'd be very worried. I think ninth is the beginning of a decline for Arsenal, because I think a lot of players will be looking to leave if they keep going down this slippery slope. Next, we have West Ham, who I think not re-signing Lingard could be a huge loss to them. But keeping Rice Soucek is just as huge of a gain for them. They do lack an out-and-out goal scorer. I know they've got Antonio, but I think they need somebody who can bring a bit more to the squad, especially up front. But they could sign somebody before the window closes and change my mind. But right now, I see them not being able to crack that top six this year. Unless they can find a replacement for Lingard, somebody brings that creativity, somebody brings that pace, that work rate that he brought to a high level for them. And I'm actually excited to see what he can do as part of the United squad. He won't be a starter for the United, but he could bring something really special. But I'll go in more detail on that in the transfer graded video that's going to be coming out after the window closes. Then next in seventh, I think we'll have Aston Villa there. They're having a stormer of a transfer window. Bailey, Ings especially are huge for me. I think Ings could be a real goal scorer for Villa, and I think he can help a player like Ollie Watkins raise the bar for him. He'll learn a lot having Ings by his side and in training. I think both of them could knock in goals for Villa all day long. I think Bailey, if he brings that creativity he had in Bundesliga to the Premier League, it could be a huge signing. He might take a year, maybe even two, to settle in, but he's one of those players that I look at that could really fit in the Premier League. It's just getting used to that physicality. But yeah, if he turns up, I could see Villa definitely breaking into the top, into seventh place, and I think the year after they could even try and battle for the top six, because I could see them like overtaking Leicester in terms of that squad that breaks into the top six, into the big six in the league. However, I do think that there will be a big gap between Villa in seventh and the next team we have, who is Spurs in sixth place. Now I've put Spurs here because they're going through a big progression from Jose Mourinho to their new manager. And having been through a Jose Mourinho change, I know how big of a devastation it can have on the club. Been there, done that, wore the t-shirt. I think they're likely to lose Kane to Man City this summer, to be honest, and that's what I've based this off mostly. Losing some key players like Kane and Alderweireld, I think will have a big impact on the squad. They were two very important players for me. I know they've kept a lot of big players, but them two in particular are ones that I think they would have wanted to keep around for at least another year. They've brought in Guillermo Romero. Good signings for them, but they've got big shoes to fill. And I just don't think that it takes them to the next level. They're linked with Martinez at the moment from Inter Milan, which would be a huge signing for them. But I think it'll take him time to settle into Spurs, settle into the Premier League, and to get those kind of goals he was getting for Inter Milan. If he can settle in straight away, then you never know, they could be battling for top four. But I just think sixth place seems to be where they're going to be heading, and unless they have a big turnaround after the Kane sale, sixth place seems to be exactly bang on where they'll end up. Next in fifth, we have Leicester City. I'm a big Brendan Rodgers fan. I think he's a quality coach, and he has done some insane things with that squad over the past couple of years. He tends to have a habit of struggling towards the end of the season, but surely the experience of being in that position the past couple of years will play a role in them taking the next step with the squad. I do think the squad quality is what's going to hold them back this year from breaking into the top four, but I think he'll once again be fighting for that chance until the final day, like he did last year against Man United and Liverpool. I nearly forgot for a sec because I'm an absolute genius of a human being. I do think that they need to sign some quality players before the end of the transfer window if they're going to break into the top four. If you compare the signings compared to somebody like Manchester United, Chelsea, City, even Liverpool, I just don't see them breaking it just yet. But we've seen the willpower of that Leicester squad, and I think that will play a huge part in them coming fifth place. Whew. Next in fourth, I have Liverpool. This is gonna get me some dislikes in the video. So let's break Liverpool down. Big signings. What in Konate to partner alongside the returning VVD, who's basically a new signing himself compared to last season, and Jota, who's basically like a new signing compared to last season. Huge returns, huge signings, but I think they need to replace Wijnaldum. I think Wijnaldum was that glue for the entire squad, and I know he didn't play every match, but he still played a big part in why Liverpool do so well. I think they definitely need to replace that energy he brought to the team, that box to box that he brought to the team. Yeah, I think they need to replace him. If they don't replace him this window, I think they're going to definitely come forth. I don't think that squad is as balanced compared to the three that are ahead of them. They sign somebody, then I could reevaluate it. But right now they're fourth. And after an injury like what VVD got, you don't always know you're going to get the same player back, or if he's going to come back stronger. I reckon he will, but you never know. You just never know. So yeah, that's definitely going to play a part in the future, for sure, for the season. In third place, I sadly think it's going to be Man United. They've made huge signings in Sancho and Varane that makes us contenders for the league. And I definitely think we'll be fighting the top two teams come towards the end of the season. But I think we're just shy of having that overall squad that will take us to winning the title. I think we're CDM, a proper CDM short. Ideally, I'd love Rice. I'd also settle for Ndidi. I think would also do that role really, really well, like he's done for Leicester. I believe we're linked with Saul, who, from what I've heard and what I've researched, could do the job, but he seems to be more box to box, which is what McTominay does. And I just think having somebody who goes forward a bit too often is what caused a lot of issues previously. I know we've got Varane, who's going to solve the issues in terms of the centre backs that led to a lot of leaky goals, on top of having box to box players. But I would much rather have a very energetic CDM who is basically a third centre back as well as a midfielder. Your Kante-esque type role, which I think Rice and Didi, maybe even Phillips could do. I think Phillips would be a very good sign for us if we were to get him. Purely because of his work rate, he's an absolute demon. But yeah, I think that's the signing we need, and keeping hold of Pogba. Currently, it's a bit up in the air whether he's going to be staying at United. It does look like he'll stay, but it's still, you never know what happens in a transfer window. If we can sign at CDM, keep Paul Pogba, keep the rest of the squad happy, then we've got every chance of winning the league. 21 is coming. I'd love it. I'd love it so much. But is this the year? I think we're just short. But I'll give Ollie credit. He has done so well in the transfers. He's done so well in the market. And this team is coming together. This could be a United team that, once the whole squad is completed, could do really well for years to come. And I'm really, really excited. It's such a good time to be a United fan, honestly. And then we move on to second place, which I think will be Manchester City. Oh, and I believe this even if they sign Harry Kane, who has not been confirmed as of yet. Admittedly, this is pure gut instinct. This one, as everything on paper says, Man City will storm the Premier League, but I just don't see it going that way. I don't think. I just I'll go a bit more in depth into it whenever I do my Prem Club grading video as to a breakdown of the City squad. But they do probably on paper have the best squad, especially if they sign Harry Kane, and they'll 100% be challenging for the title. And are going to go after every trophy, but I also think that could potentially be their downfall. I just think that they're gonna need that core squad, like that starting 11 that they're gonna have to rely on more than the rest of the players. But they're gonna have to balance keeping so many players happy and so many players, game fit and ready whenever they come on at all times. Which has worked for them in the past, but I just think that the team I've gotten first are gonna edge it, just gonna edge it, and that team in first, you've probably worked out, is Chelsea. Now, hear me out. I think their manager, English. I think the manager for Chelsea, Tuchel. I can't pronounce his name. I apologize for butchering that. Has done so much for the squad, and the second half of the season really showed me he can make Chelsea title contenders. What they were missing was a goal scorer, an out-and-out goal scorer who's going to bag them 20, 25 plus goals of the season, and they've gotten that in Lukaku, which is all but confirmed. I think with him, Werner settling in more, probably play on the left wing more than he will as a striker. Havertz starting coming out of his shell towards the end of the season, scoring the winner in the Champions League final, huge confidence boost. Mason Mount looking quality, that defense looking so well organized under the new management that I think they're going to be a really tough team to beat. And I look at every team, and the only team I see beating them in a match is Man City. If Chelsea keep this entire squad fit, I genuinely think they could win the Premier League, and it's who I'm going to be putting my money on. To be perfectly honest. So yeah, it's a brave choice. I don't think it's as brave as putting Arsenal at ninth, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, it's gonna be the most exciting Premier League season ever. I think the top four is correct, but it could be literally any order. But yeah, Chelsea's my choice. Most importantly, I cannot wait for the Premier League to return. Honestly, I'm so excited. And now I'm going to go into the awards for the Prem and the winners of some other trophies. So on the right-hand side, as you can see, we've got Player of the Year, Signing of the Year, Golden Boot, Golden Glove, FA Cup, and Champions League winners. This is gonna have a theme going on, as you'll probably work out. I think my Player of the Year is going to be Lukaku. I think what he'll bring to the Chelsea squad, I think he'll score around 25 goals. I think he'll play such an important role in a Premier League winning squad, that there'd be no other choice. Others I think could win it. Bruno Fernandes, I think, will definitely be up there. I think this season you're going to see even more come out of him. More chance creations, more goal scoring. Yeah, I think he's definitely in with the shot. KDB obviously is going to be in with the shot for sure. He's one of the best players in the world at the moment, and probably still the best player in the Premier League right now. You've also got Virgil Van Dyke. If he returns top of his game, then he's definitely in with the shout. Salah, you can never count him out. If he can get that form that he showed previously, back at Liverpool, then he'll definitely be in with the shout. It'd be an interesting one. And obviously, Harry Kane is got to be in with the shout. If he moves that Man City squad and they get the most out of him, which I think him and Jack Grealish linking up could be absolutely huge. He's definitely in with the shout. Sign of the Year for me is going to be between Harry Kane and Lukaku, but As you've seen from my player of the year, I think Lukaku's going to take it, but I do think it'll be very, very tight between them. You could argue Grealish could be in with a shout. Personally, I don't think he'll get enough games to be signed this season. I think he'll be rotated out quite a bit, but we'll just have to wait and see. Golden Boot, as you can probably imagine, or could probably guess by now, Lukaku. I think it'll be between Lukaku and Kane again. I think they're the two players that I think are going to get in and around the 25 goal mark. If Harry Kane stays at Spurs, then yeah, I don't think he'll get it. I just don't think that Spurs squad is going to perform as well, whether Kane stays or not. But it'll be interesting to see what's to come. Golden Glove. This was actually a tough one for me. I was struggling between De Gea and Mendy. I think with Henderson's injury at the start of the season, De Gea is probably going to be our number one. He's definitely going to be number one at the start, and I think he'll do a good enough job that he'll not lose it to Henderson when he comes back. I don't think Ollie's going to want to immediately rotate out. De Gea's going to have to make a huge error in a big game to warrant the swap, which I just don't think will happen. I think with Varane coming in, he'll solidify that defense, allow Harry Maguire to play his game even stronger without having to worry about covering for his partner, which is what caused Harry Maguire a lot of issues. So yeah, I think the United defense is going to thrive, especially with Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw both looking very, very strong at the end of last season. I could see us, but I just think Chelsea are going to be the toughest team to break down in the league, and I think that'll lead to Mendy getting the Golden Glove. Next, we have the FA Cup, which I think will go to Manchester United. I think Ollie's going to go gunning for a trophy this year. I think ideally he wants it to be a Champions League. I don't think we're ready to win the Champions League just yet. I think we need to add a bit more quality to the midfield in terms of the CDM we discussed before, and I think the FA Cup is the perfect trophy for him to win. Unless we get moved down to the Europa League, which I just don't see it. I don't see it happening this season. I think we're going to go for the FA Cup, and I think we're going to win it. Then we have the Champions League, and if you pick anybody other than PSG, I think you are crazy. Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, Wijnaldum, Verratti, Hakimi, Bernat, Kimpembe, Marquinhos, Ramos, Donnarumma. That starting 11 has to be one of the most insane starting squads you'll ever see. If they can keep that squad fit for the entire season, the Champions League is going to be stormed. It's going to be really weird seeing Ramos and Messi in the same team, but I digress. PSG should win it. If they don't win it this year, they'll never win it, and that squad is going to be torn apart, no matter how much money they throw at it. But I think this is the year. Like they've had the best transfer window out of any squad. They've for 50 million signed 5 of the best players in the world, 4 of them which they got for free, and then they got Hakimi is the only one they paid for. It is bonkers, and the depth they've got in that squad as well is insane. I think they probably should sign another centre back in terms of keeping the quality and depth, because if they get an injury to Ramos especially is a bit injury prone. But yeah, still I think they're going to do it. I think this is the year PSG win the Champions League, and I think City are still going to bottle it because it's City and the Champions League. And there we have it, folks. There is my predictions for the Premier League season, and as well as a couple of other trophies. This could be the end of my my footballing career on YouTube if this turns out to be absolute rubbish, but hopefully not. But what we are guaranteed is that it's going to be a quality season of football. I'm going to be doing plenty of watch-alongs. I'm going to be doing Premier League previews pretty much every week over on my Twitch channel, link in the description. Comment below who you think's going to win the Premier League, who you think's going to be relegated. We'll see. We'll see who's going to be disagreeing with me. Tell me in the comments below why you agree or disagree with any of my choices. I'm really looking forward to more football and content in the future. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it on all social medias, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.